My name is Sebastian Wigley. I'm a junior political science major here at the University of North Georgia, and I completed an internship with Congressman Pete Sessions in June and July of 2018.
Awesome. Thank you for coming in today, Sebastian. Can you tell us a little bit more about your internship and responsibilities while you were working for Pete Sessions?
My responsibilities while working for the Congressman, mostly I was working in constituent services, so I had to answer the phone a lot and talk to constituents from the 32nd District of Texas. I had to attend committee hearings, so Judiciary, Financial Services, Rules Committee, and I would take notes on what happened in those committee hearings and provide them to the staff so they could better serve the Congressman.
Oh, that's really cool. Did your responsibilities allow you to sort of begin networking with congressmen?
Yes, absolutely. And I met quite a few congressmen. I was able to even meet the Republican leadership. And I also was able to network with constituents. I was giving constituent tours and meeting them regularly. So it was pretty regular that I get to meet some people who could provide me insight onto my college experience or my career goals.
Okay, could you talk about some of your future goals?
My immediate goals for after I graduate here from North Georgia, I hope to get a staff assistant job in Washington, D.C., hopefully for on the Hill, where I can put into practice some of the stuff I've been learning here in the political science department right out of undergrad. And then after that, I hope on either going to law school or graduate school for economics and continuing my staff aspirations on the Hill and maybe working for a federal agency, but something in Washington.
Okay, so why did you seek this internship specifically?
I wanted an experience, an internship that would really kind of provide a culmination of everything I've been learning here in the political science department. So the way I look at it, it's sometimes the stuff that we see in the news can be pretty confusing and complex, but to actually be a part of it, to go into Washington and be where the reporters are, it really helped me understand the current political climate and really helped me understand everything that I've been learning here at North Georgia and everything that I've been reading in my textbooks.
Okay, how did you get into and get your internship?
I was referred to the internship from a friend of mine who formerly worked in the office with the congressman, and he connected me with the staff assistant, and so I sent him my resume and filled out an application.
Okay. Do you feel that your relationship or your internship related to your major?
Oh, absolutely. It was everything that I did in Washington. It was like I had a flashback to something we were talking about here in class or something that I was reading in a textbook. It definitely was the kind of experience that I was looking for to kind of close out my time here at North Georgia.
Okay. What were some of the best things you learned in doing this internship?
I definitely learned a lot about the current political climate and everything that we're seeing in the news. I got a better understanding of how constituents respond to that, and I learned a lot about how a congressman's office functions. I didn't really know what it would be like, but once I got there, I learned a lot about how the staff assistants, the legislative directors, the chief of staffs all contribute to the legislative process. I also learned a lot about congressional procedure. I sat in multiple Rules Committee hearings, Judiciary hearings. I sat in the gallery and watched the House floor debate, Senate floor debate, and I learned a lot about how a bill becomes a law from the legislative side, and whether that's submitting amendments in Rules Committee to amend a piece of legislation or opening up the floor for debate before the final vote. I got to see all of that.
It definitely sounds like you got a lot out of your internship. As far as stuff back at University of North Georgia, what have been some of your best memories?
Definitely, one of my favorite memories is when I went to Model United Nations conference in Charlotte last semester, and a similar experience. It was we practice a lot of debate, we practice a lot of negotiating, we write position papers, and we take those to the conference, and we try to find global solutions and solutions that can help over a variety of topics that are regularly discussed at the United Nations level. And it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of friends, connected with a lot of people, and I most certainly learned a lot about negotiating and crossing the aisle to find common ground. And in a time where the political climate is particularly divisive, it's fun to do that, and it's hopeful to do that. And I did see a little bit of the same thing when I was in Washington. I saw how congressmen, even though we are in a politically divisive climate, still can find common ground and work across party aisles.
So it definitely sounds like you learned a lot of similar lessons here at North Georgia and going into your internship.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a lot of similarity when it comes to how people negotiate, when it comes to the process of writing a resolution or writing a bill. I learned a lot in Model UN how a resolution gets through a committee, and I learned in Washington how a bill and legislation will get through committee.
That's really great. Thank you so much for taking your time and for coming out today.
Absolutely.